Powered by the Montana Television Network. This is the 10 o'clock news on Q2, Montana's news leader.
Good evening, I'm Russ Riesinger. Thanks for joining us tonight. Billings police want to put on the brakes and slow down cruising events that have been taking place the past few weeks. Police Chief Rich St. John calls it a developing trend that is concerning and needs to be addressed. This was a scene a couple Friday nights ago as hundreds of cars packed 24th Street West and many people crowded into parking lots along the way. The chief says he understands people are tired of being cooped up. He says most of them do not create problems, but some do, and that it's becoming a growing concern. Last week, there were more than 100 warnings and citations given out, and the police chief says there were also 2 high-speed chases that went out to the interstate.
Private parking lots, we're seeing large, raucous crowds. Some people are drinking. There's litter. Some people are engaged in disorderly behavior, verbally abusing others, to include patrolling officers. More problematic is the reckless and dangerous driving that has become all too common. Burnouts, brodies, cutting through parking lots, impeding emergency vehicles, and fleeing traffic stops, DUI, all creates a significant danger to everybody.
The chief says that police will be partnering with the Highway Patrol and increasing their presence in the future. There's also an ordinance against cruising and loitering in Billings that he says police can enforce, but he says there are other things he would like his officers to work on, and he hopes people will tone it down on their own. Police say they have received another report of a church being Zoom bombed here in Billings. That's a term used for when a hacker gains access and disrupts an online meeting on the popular video conferencing Zoom app that many people are now using. We told you yesterday that a hacker disrupted the online service at Billings First Congregational Church Sunday by posting graphic images of child abuse. The church promptly reported that incident to police. It's now under investigation. BPD then received another report involving inappropriate behavior that happened the Sunday before during an online service at Unitarian Universalist Fellowship. Now, police encourage people to research the specific platform they're using and follow recommended security procedures. Billings police say they're actively chasing leads in a murder case that left a man dead near Central Park last week. And tonight, charging documents are giving us a better understanding of what led to that deadly shooting. 24-year-old Brett Ness died from a gunshot wound to the head Monday, April 27th in the driveway of a home on Florine Lane. Now, since then, police have been trying to track down the person responsible for Ness's death. One woman, 18-year-old Raisha Blacksmith, was already arrested in connection with the homicide and charged with felony obstruction. Court documents say Blacksmith witnessed the shooting, allowed the shooter in her car, then drove the shooter to a home near Terry and Central Avenue. Prosecutors say police are reviewing video footage from a nearby building that shows 5 people getting out of 2 cars before Ness was shot. Well, Billings High School seniors may cross the graduation stage at Metro Park after all. After school district officials consulted with disease control doctors, it looks like more flexibility can be found to give students and their parents a true ceremony. Now, that plan is not entirely nailed down. We do know there would be fewer spectators if it is allowed this year. Q2's Mitch Legge brings us more details.
At the school board meeting Monday night, Billings School District 2 Superintendent Greg Upham said that he reached out to Billings Clinic's disease control team to see if different accommodations could be made for high school graduation. Upham said the total number of people that will be allowed inside the ceremony is undetermined right now. That number will depend on how safely people can flow through the First Interstate Arena while maintaining social distance. The time it takes to sanitize surfaces between ceremonies is also a consideration for attendance numbers. The Billings Clinic's team is working with staff at Metro Park and county health officials to determine seating arrangements for graduates and spectators. Upham said the goal is to stick to the original date for graduation on May 24th. With the possibility of adding a second day if they have to break up the 3 high schools into multiple ceremonies.
I feel more comfortable with the level of expertise that we have to go out and look at the Metro and see just exactly what we can do by allowing for a larger gathering. I can't say how large yet. They want to look at the facility to see, what type of organization that we can put together to ensure the social distancing and maintain safety.
And the plan for graduation is still flexible. Upham said that if COVID-19 cases start to rise in Yellowstone County, the ceremony could become more limited. In Billings, Mitch Legge, MTN News.
All right, thanks, Mitch. There are about 400 students in each graduating class at the 3 Billings high schools. Well, a small-town Montana school making a name for itself as it has chosen to reopen in the middle of the COVID-19 pandemic. This is the first school in the state and possibly even the nation to make that call. MTN's Cody Boyer shows us how it's possible.
For most in Willow Creek, they say if you're not looking, you might miss it if you're just passing through. But for Willow Creek Public School, they might be one of the first to reopen in the country amid the pandemic.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is what we need to do for the parents and for our students.
This is part of a new reality for Superintendent Bonnie Lauer, 18 staff members and only 56 students.
Names are on the desk, ready to roll. We have a lot of working parents. 2 parents are at work all day long, and they've got multiple students sitting at home trying to do their work.
Lauer met with the board. Come May 7th, they decided to leave the option to parents open.
We polled our parents, and 76% of the students will be coming back to school. The parents have a choice to opt out and do the off-site learning.
Lauer says many parents do not have the internet or the resources to do remote learning outside of packets. Being among the first to reopen nationwide, every precaution must be taken.
We're putting all the safety measures that we possibly can into opening.
That includes in the classroom, with 6-foot pool noodles in every classroom and desks already put 6 feet apart. Custodians will clean bathrooms routinely after each use.
The bus will look way different, obviously. The kids won't be allowed to get on the bus till they have their temperature taken. And if they have a 99 or better temperature, they won't come that day.
That's their crayons, their scissors.
Kindergarten teachers like Haley Hurst see reopening as a positive sign.
It's important to see where your kids are going into the next year, and that's what I'm most grateful for as the school opening happens, is just to be able to assess my students.
If you don't know it about kindergarten teachers, it's about being able to say goodbye.
To just say goodbye and get their blankets for nap time. That's so important, such important closure, I feel like.
But Lauer gets it, and she says every precaution is being watched closely.
We have very small numbers, and that's the only reason we can open.
In Willow Creek, Cody Boyer, MTN News.
Well, this afternoon, Governor Steve Bullock announced $123 million in emergency grant funding for families, small businesses, and others hit hardest by the COVID-19 pandemic. The first round of emergency grants is funded through the Federal Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Security, or CARES Act. That funding will be allocated through 9 programs designed to address key COVID-19 issues. Those include emergency housing assistance, reducing social isolation among seniors, small business stabilization, and public health grants. Montana was allocated $1.25 billion in CARES Act funds, the federal minimum amount for states. Bullock says the state will use this first round of funding to help determine where it's most needed and will adjust later funding.
And Montanans have made it clear that we must step in and do everything possible to ensure that small businesses can responsibly reopen, that nonprofits can continue to serve our communities, that homeowners can stay in their homes, and Montanans most in need have access to services.
Beginning Thursday at 8 a.m., people can start to apply for assistance at covidrelief.mt.gov. After a grant is approved, the state's plan is to send that money out as soon as possible. Well, as communities work through this changed world, confirmed COVID-19 cases continue to dwindle here in Montana, and that's good news. This afternoon, health authorities report only 30 active cases statewide. There are no new confirmed cases again. In fact, Montana's confirmed total dropped by 1. State health authorities say they've determined that a case thought to be from Fergus County has not been a Montana resident for nearly a year and does not pose a known risk. 8 new cases have been confirmed, including 3 more in Fremont County, which has the highest count in the state. Wyoming now has 604 cases, 452 confirmed, another 152 probable. The Cowboy State still has the fewest deaths of any state in the country, with 7. Well, the essential workers across Montana will get a big display of thank you tomorrow. C-130 aircraft from the Montana Air National Guard will perform flyovers of more than 20 cities and towns to salute workers in the fight against COVID-19. Now, the event begins in Great Falls around 10:15 in the morning, where 2 C-130s will fly over Benefice Hospital. One aircraft will then fly east, the other west. Air National Guard officials say the flyovers are part of the Air Force Salutes program. And here in the Q2 viewing area, The plane's expected to pass over Glendive around 11:55 in the morning, Miles City at 12:15, Hardin at 12:40. It will fly over Billings around 12:50. On to Livingston at 1:10 and then over Bozeman. But before the salute from the air here in Billings, that thank you starts on the ground. First responders across the region will share their appreciation for healthcare workers with a parade of patrol cars, fire trucks, and EMS units. First responders will start on 12th Avenue North and North 27th at 12:30, then travel through and around both St. Vincent Healthcare and Billings Clinic campuses. They will finish down North 27th to Riverstone Health Clinic. And if you line up on the street to watch, you're asked to please adhere to those social distancing guidelines. All right, turning to Chief Forecaster Bob McGuire. And Bob, things could get a little interesting around here tomorrow evening.
Yeah, especially in the Billings area. I'm thinking it might be kind of a bad hair day because even though if you're standing out there and want to salute our first-line workers, this is what you're going to be running into. We have a high wind watch starting Wednesday evening and going through Thursday morning. Probably going to see winds 60 miles per hour basically from Buffalo, Wyoming, through Billings, through Sheridan, all the way up towards Harleton. Then not only that, check this out. A little farther to the north, that's a winter weather advisory up in the Little Belts and also Kings Hill. Above the 5,500-foot level, could see 5 to 11 inches of snow up there from Wednesday night, 9 p.m. till noon Thursday. Up by Glacier Park, it's more like 3 to 5 inches of snow above the 5,000-foot level. And over in Missoula and also in the Flathead Valley, wind advisory there from 40 to 45 mile per hour winds expected in the western part of the state. Breezy day tomorrow. Got another system starting to move in. It's going to bring rain in some cases, some significant rain. We'll chat about that in a few more minutes.
All right, thank you, Bob. For the first time in more than a month, President Donald Trump left Washington today and headed for Arizona. Well, there he toured a Honeywell factory that is in charge of making N95 masks. The president himself did not wear a mask, but a White House official says Honeywell told him that he didn't have to. President Trump credited the workers at the factory for pouring their heart and soul into defending our nation and keeping its people healthy and safe. Well, the president also held a roundtable with Native American tribal leaders in Arizona, where he signed a new proclamation declaring May 5th Missing and Murdered American Indians and Alaska Natives Awareness Day. And here in Montana, the Montana Department of Justice released an analysis today breaking down the facts around 3 years of Montana missing persons data. MTN's John Riley has a look at the findings.
The Montana Department of Justice released a breakdown of missing persons from 2017 through 2019. Of the 3,200 unique individuals reported missing, there were no significant difference in gender, but most cases were children and teens.
It's very striking that 81% of the people that go missing in Montana are under the age of 18. When you look at them as a proportion of the state population, they only make up 21.6%. So it's very much skewed towards juveniles.
Data indicated a strong correlation between childhood trauma and missing juveniles. Some 60% of missing person reports represented someone who had gone missing more than once. The state also saw significant growth and accuracy of reports from reservations in recent years. The increase in reports also helped highlight issues faced on Montana reservations. Bighorn County, which is home to both the Crow and Northern Cheyenne reservations, was nearly double per capita the number of missing persons compared to the next highest county. And Indigenous peoples are 4 times more likely to be reported missing. The state says at this point it's too soon to make a definitive conclusion from the data, but it helps inform policy making going forward.
These are just statistics that we've talked about today. They can't tell every individual story, but the Department of Justice did this to help find answers to the most basic questions of not just who is going missing, but why and what can we do about it.
Reporting in Helena, John Riley, MTN News.
According to the findings, 97% of people reported missing in Montana during that 3-year period were found. Still ahead on the Q2 10 o'clock news, we're going to take you underground and show you what might be some people's dream home during this time of social distancing. Plus a Billings bar that not only welcomed back customers but unveiled a new look. And in sports, the bats may not be cracking nor the gloves popping quite yet, but our athletes of the week still have plenty of reasons for celebrating.
You're watching MTN News with Janelle Slade and Russ Riesinger. Storm Tracker weather with Bob McGuire. And sports with Scott Breen. This is the 10 o'clock news on Q2, Montana's news leader.